When we talk about having power all throughout the day, despite what's happening, for example, with your grid, and by grid I mean the utility company has the electric grid that is servicing your property currently for power if you haven't gone solar yet, then when the grid goes down, you could potentially be without power. And right now the average American has about 24 hours of grid outage if you average the amount of grid outages over the nation. When we say that you're going to have 24/7 power, that's usually related to a system with battery storage. Right now, you don't have to have batteries in most places in order to go solar, but you can, and depending on where you're at in the life cycle of solar in your market, it might make sense to add a battery. But the 24/7 power comes from having a battery backup or a battery storage solution so that if the grid goes down, and by grid I mean the utility grid, the grid that you're currently getting your power from, if that grid goes down, you wouldn't have power except after you install solar, after you install a battery. Now that battery pack is going to be servicing your home even if there's no power coming from the grid. So the 24/7 power is a backup solution, creates peace of mind, creates consistency so you don't have to empty your refrigerator. You could potentially still work if you have your Wi-Fi and your charging still up if you work from home, for example, or other kinds of modern conveniences. Now sometimes having a battery backup just for when the grid goes down isn't really a compelling enough option for people, and batteries don't really make sense. But in some markets, you really can't afford to go solar without battery. For example, now in California, there's really no system that's getting installed without a battery because of not just the cost of the energy system, but also because of the cost of energy. Right now in many states, we have what's called a net metering law. Simply put, that means you get a 1-to-1 ratio for power that you produce and you put into the grid, then you can take that power out and use it for yourself without paying for it. It's essentially a bill credit. Whenever you put energy in, you get energy out for free. And that's what reduces your bill. In some areas though, where maybe solar has been more popular, the utility companies are starting to increase the fairness of their rate plan by doing what's called a time of use rate plan. People need to know about time of use rate plan because it will actually alter that net metering 1-to-1 ratio that I was just talking about. What time of use means is if you go to use energy at a time when most people are trying to use it, the demand is high, you're going to pay more. If you go to use energy at a time when most people are not trying to access or use the energy, it'll be cheaper. So the problem with that when you're on a solar system in net metering is you could be potentially purchasing expensive power and selling it back at a time when it's cheap. Now the battery acts as your time machine and actually can maximize the credits that you're getting from the grid by moving the time when you're purchasing power to the cheapest time of day and moving the time when you're selling your power back to the grid to the most expensive time of the day, which would benefit you to sell the power at a high price. So when it comes to storage, battery solutions, and solar, you just want to be talking to someone who really understands not just the products that they're dealing with, but also the policy and the rate plans of the utility that you're in.